Hello and welcome to Kirkby Bank. In this video I'm going to show an in-depth build of how I actually build an O-gauge B5 point. I've done a separate video because this is going to be quite long anyway. So hope you enjoyed this video and gain some insight into actually how to build an O-gauge point, although you can use the same techniques for building in N-gauge, double O, or what other gauge you're actually building anyway. So I'll see you. I'll see you at the end of the video anyway.
Welcome to the workshop. Gonna have a go at constructing this point. This is a B5 crossing, which relates to the angle there. It's a slight curve. I can always show you later on where it actually sits on the main layout anyway. So this is a printout from Templot, which you've heard me mention a couple of times in previous videos. What we need to do is to get some double-sided tape, which you can get from eBay. It's only about 6mm, something like that, and stick lengths over the where the actual rails would go. It is clear tape, and that's basically how you progress, and you'll put some sleevers on it. So in the best blue piece of style, here's one I prepared earlier, and up to now I've stuck down the sleevers so far. I just need to continue down there. There's double-sided tape that's nice and sticky on there, so once we've populated with this, we can then put some rails on it, put the chairs on the rails, but I'll show you all that as we go on. So I'll continue putting some sleepers on this, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Right, we're back. So we've got all our sleepers are in place now, and we got some rail there. I'm using recycled rail as well, so this little bit isn't quite long enough, but we can just put a little bit of a join down here, which is no problem. That's where our tie bar is going to be, so that's why there's not a sleeper in there. So all we have to do now is start threading our chairs onto our rail. Once we've got them in place, we can then stick them down using met, or cheaper method is actually search eBay, and you'll find butanol, which is the same sort of stuff, only it's a damn sight cheaper, where you'll get a bottle like that for maybe £8 instead of paying £8 at the model shop for that anyway. So that's just a little tip anyway. So let's start getting some chairs on here and carry on making the point. So all my chairs come from C&L, or most of them come from C&L, should I say. Using 3-bolt chairs, and you get them on the sprue like this. So you have to take a couple off the sprue, and then you just thread them on. Basically, you have to make sure you get them on the right way round. If you put them on the wrong way round, once you finish your point and try running an engine over it, it'll go brrr, as it bounces off that side of the chair anyway. So make sure that side of the chair is to the outside. In this case, with a 3-bolt chair, the 2 bolts should go to the rail. The 2 bolts, if you say the 2 bolts should go to the wheel. Right, so it's a case of just threading them all on, and you'll count up how many. Now you will have slide chairs which are situated from there to there. That is so as when you've got your switchblade on, it can slide about and it's not fixed. So a slide chair looks like, not that one, that's what a slide chair looks like there. So it's got a flat bit which the blade slides on there. but we'll be fitting them later on anyway. So let's carry on. Right, okay. Right, we've now got all the chairs on this rail, ready to go. So all you need to do is stick it down. When it comes to the check rails over there, I'm using the new C&L. There, the new C&L chairs, which got two slots in there, so you get the right gap for your check rail in there. I mean, the other way of doing it would be, and I've done that before, is leave two chairs out there, and then you put just two chairs on the actual check rail and slide in and make sure your gap is correct. Or something else I've done is I've used some copper clad and soldered it to the underneath there, and then soldered the check rail to the copper clad there, getting the right gap. So that's the other thing I've done. So anyway, let's have a go at getting this down anyway. You have to make sure everything's in the right place where I planned it to be. So what I use is a tool like that, which I've made myself, and then if you slide it over there, you can match it exactly with the template underneath, because if you're looking at different angles, it can look correct when it isn't. And I always like to work from the back forward this way as well. So let's get our brush out and we'll get a bit of mess on it and work that way. So put that there. Just all you need to do is just, don't need a lot, just need to wet the plastic rail underneath, all the plastic chairs, plastic sleepers should I say, get the right term, and let's just let that go off. So that's a start, because this will bend round that way. So now we'll dab a bit more on there. You can be quite generous with this, but it's potent stuff. I'm using the needle file as well, just to push some of these around. Get them exactly in the middle, and then apply a bit of pressure on that for 30 seconds or so. And just use our needle file just to push some of these round. Checking that we are in the right place. Just dab a bit more mech on it, or butanol. Bit of pressure. We're in the right place there. A bit more. Just push that into the right place. Right, the main rail is in there, and with that you can base everything off there using your roller gauges. So the next job is to the V-crossing. You can actually buy the V-crossing assembly and the switchblade if you want, but that's when it starts adding up the cost. So I like to make them myself with a bit of rail. If you get a piece of rail, it's far longer than you need. I mark red on one side, which is meant to be the outside. You can do it by file. You can file the correct angle on there, but we'll go into the garage and do it differently. Then you cut it in half and turn it around, and you'll make your V. But it'll all become apparent anyway as I do this. So let's go to the garage. Right, welcome to the garage. This is a belt sander, or cheap belt sander that I bought, which is great for doing your switchblades and your V-crossing. And I've just done something very crude. I've just marked off the angles on a bit of board to match this plate, so that I can roughly get the correct angle. So anyway, all we need to do now is we get our piece of rail, which was that one, and just put an angle on both ends. The red is meant to be the outside, so we'll put that down, and away we go. Be a bit noisy this. This belt sander was only 25 quid, I think, but it'll cost you that much for a set of blades, set of switch blades. Yeah, about 25 quid. I'm not sure how much it cost you for the V-crossing. You might be able to see that if it's focused. To the other end. Now the way I'm doing these points is the way I like to do it. It's not the way to do it. You can develop your own way, your own little technique. But this is something I've done by watching other videos on YouTube. There we go. Pretty good. So that is the V-crossing. We'll deal with it a bit more in a minute. So now we have to deal with the switch blades. So this, I've marked one red and one blue. That means one's left and one's right, but they are handed. So now with this, we don't switch that off, and we don't need this little plate. Now, so there we go. A nice gentle stroke. You've just got to take it off so that it's just a nice plane. And I do get most of my stuff from C&L, but I also use Permanent Way, but I will put links in the description. There are other places you can get your track components from as well. Oh, that's nice that now. Maybe you can see that now. So we're now playing that off a little bit as well, so it's a nice sharp point that comes through. Again, this is recycled track. So that's nice thin that it is now. Just the end up there. Right. That's lovely now. Do the other one. Now this one's from scratch. You've got to be patient with it. And this is well worth the investment because I've got quite a few switch blades and recrossing to do in constructing Kirkby Bank. That's about right, that. It's a nice smooth plane there, so let's just do the other side. So we get a nice thin blade. On that side, just you can still see parts of the rail there, so you don't take it off all the way, and that gives you a nice sharp blade, but still keeps a little bit of structure in the track. You take it all the way, it bends too easily. So that's a really nice blade that is now. So now we go back to the workshop. Right, so now we're back in the workshop. So what you need to do is cut that rail in half, which is going to be for the V crossing, and you need to bend then to the opposite, so as that smooth side is something, that side that's been actually filed or on the belt sander will become straight, so it's better for soldering. So now just need to put it in the vise. Get a good pair of pliers on it. Bend that straight. And then you need to get a steel rule, and just to see whether that still needs to go a bit more of that. So in this case I'll just do it freehand. A little bit more, right. Back in the vise again. Bend that a little bit more. Do it. And that's fine. That's nice and straight. That. So rinse and repeat, and just do the same with that one, and then we'll have a go at soldering them together. Right, we've now assembled the two halves of the V crossing. I've just marked out the correct angle for the V5 on this, and just used a few nails, just hold in place. Very simple. It doesn't cost basically nothing to do. Make sure you clean up the area that's to be soldered, and then we just go ahead and solder it. be generous with the solder. You can always file little bits off later. So here we go. I've checked the angle as well by just using a little rule there to make sure everything seems to line up there like that. And that little gap in there, you can just fill with solder and file it up, so it's makes a nice smooth joint. Plenty of solder in there. And I'll put some solder on there. And I'll file that up. Right, so give me a second and I'll file that up now. Just take it out of the jig. Right, that's our V-crossing made. Just brought back the other template which I showed you earlier. This is just another print, and then just try this against that and it's absolutely spot on. So that's exactly what you want. The next thing is to make all your other bits of check rails to go with it, so I'll show you how to do that. Right, we've assembled our V-crossing, and what I like to do is put them all together, and how I do that is using bits of copper clad I should say, lay them down there, then you put your V-crossing on there and your two wing rails which you will have made in the vise, and just bend them to the correct angle. You know, just check them. I always put a line at the peak of the bend or there, just to line them up like that, and then it takes a bit of a while, but you've got to clean up all your bits of rail and all your copper clad, and then solder them all together. It takes a bit of a while, but in the best Blue Peter style, with it out the way. And this is the one I prepared earlier. This is the actual one I'm going to use, but something you have to do while you assemble it is putting your chairs in the right place, because when you connect it all together you can't get your chairs on. So all the chairs are correct there, and all we need to do is put that there and then use our gauges, or roller gauges there, just to get it into the right position. And once everything is in the right position and we're happy with it, we then use our good old met and put it on the chairs, and the chairs will connect themselves or glue themselves to all the sleepers. So I'll carry on and we'll be back in a minute. Right, we have our V-crossing in the correct position now, so all we need to do is use our met and fix it down. Then we can carry on building the rest of the point, because this is the central part of the point. So let's open that met then. Right. Nice. Let's keep it pressed down well. And the next bit I like to put in is this first blade, because then you can gauge from that. Right, the frog's in place, switchblade is in place, so now we're going to put the turnout rail in. So I have already put all the chairs on the rail, so it's a case of just setting it up now using our gauges. So somewhere around there. And then because this is in, this will give us the correct gauge. So that's nice. Then down the other end, one of these. Now set them. Actually, we've missed something there. Let's put a few more chairs on down here. Bear with me a minute. We're already done this one. Right, so now we have the right amount of chairs on. Make sure the gauge is correct there. If you use that, well, we can gauge a bit off that. Right, we've got all our chairs in position. We have to fit them round a little bit. There's just a few. One there. It's very good to have our Gauge Guild gauge to double check before we actually put it down. Everything seems fine there. So now we get our met and we just stick down all our little chairs. And of course I've used the C&L chairs there, or the C&L chairs which are for the check rail. Gives you the correct space in them. I always do a few and hold them down for a second. Make sure they bond to the sleepers. You can just apply a bit of pressure. I've got a bit of time to smooth these about a bit. Begin to look a little bit like a point at the moment. Once we've got the switchblade, final switchblade in, that one, things look a lot better. Right, so we'll let that all go off a little bit and we'll do the switchblade. Right, I've stuck down the turnout rail using metal, and I've put all the chairs in the correct position, and I've used the C&L and check rail chairs to get the right distance there, so everything's looking quite good. And then all we need to do is let that go off, and then we'll put the other switchblade in. So back in a sec. Right, we just need to put the other switchblade in now. I've put insulated joint in there, and I've populated it all with the chairs in the right place. So if we put our gauges on, our roller gauges, we get the right gauge, let that go off. But we will be putting slide chairs in here. The next little step will be to do our tie bar. Not sure how I do the tie bar. That's why there's a sleeper miss. I actually have a sleeper that moves that way. That's the way I do my tie bar, but there's loads of other ways of doing it. You can do it with a copper clad if you want, but you have to make sure you cut the copper in the middle, you'll be causing short circuit. Right, so this is how I do my tie bar. This is some ply in size of a sleeper, sort of like that. Only I've got a long piece, and the reason why I use wood is because when you're soldering, the wood will take a lot more heat than the plastic will. It's not likely to melt. So if you slide that under there like that, then I get a little drill like that. That's about 1.5 mil, something like that. In the middle there, drill a hole. So that's through there. Then judge your little gap for your wheel to go through, and that'll be about there, and then drill another hole there. So what I will do now is I'll put small bolts through there, and I'll solder them to here. So let me get some bolts and I'll be back in a sec. Right, decent nice little 8BA brass bolts. So what I'll need to do, I'll just use a drill bit, about 4 or 5 mil drill bit, just run it round and just make a little countersink on the back of there. I say there's lots of ways of doing tie bars, but this is the way I like to do it. And I always leave this long so I can adjust it to fit whatever servo I'm putting on it to drive it. So if we put that in there, so that makes a nice countersunk circle on there. So what we've got to do next is, if this is the switchblade sitting there, we've got to file a flat on the side of the bolt so we can solder the switchblade to the bolt. So bear with me a second, I'll go and do that one. Right, so we fixed our bolts in place, and we put a little bit of, filed the flat and put a little bit of solder on there. So now we need to get it underneath there. So in order to do that, not to stir things, we have to cut the paper. And I've only been building points now for four or 5 months, something like that. So this is what I've learned and worked out myself. So this is not a how to actually do it, it's just how I do it. This, you might pick up some tips from the way I do it anyway. Right, so now get that in there, we can pick that up, slide that in. Turn it that way. So now we need to solder that to there and that to there. Now you're probably going to say that these bolts are too long. Well, I've already cut them down, but I will file them all in a minute. More solder in there. Now the beauty of doing this over using copperclad is copperclad doesn't give when you're moving back and forth, because these slightly pivot, so it doesn't pull your blade around. So they are, that's your blade. So what I'll do is I shall get a file going. I'll clean them up now. Two nice files. I just need to work them and try getting a wagon over them and make sure they don't foul. So I'll be back in a minute. Right, we've done a bit of fettling and we've filed all these little bits down. So that is looking really nice now. That's performing nicely. Plenty of gap there to get your wheel down. So the last little job we need to do is put our slide chairs in, which will go under all these, which will put S's on. So let me do that and then we'll just test it, and after that we'll wire it up. So we're getting somewhere now, so let's carry on. Right, we're ready to wire this up now. Let's put a green wire to the frog because frogs are green. That's that. Now we flip it over, so thread that through there. that done. So black to the back, so this side is going to be the black. So what I do here is, if I get my fiberglass pen, just clean up the rails. And I'm going to link those together. I'll explain why in a second. So if we flip that back, I'll explain. Now the reason why I've done that is, that means that this blade is live as well as that rail is live, and it means that you are not relying on the contact of that blade there because it's live, so you get proper or reliable running, and the same on that side. So now we'll get the good old 6-wheel tanker out again. Right, so this is going to go straight across there. It's no problem at all. Slowly, and then we throw the blade. Goes that way. So I think that's a success, really.
Right, I hope you found that useful. It's just the way I learned to build points. I've only been building points for the past 5 months, but you could apply those techniques to building in any particular gauge, really. So if you like to follow Kirkby Bank as a build, you can click and subscribe. Click on the like button. Be really appreciative, just to help the channel grow. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.